Hello, good morning everyone. Following the lecture series on green technologies, right now we'll see the pollution prevention and cleanup production awareness plan. Myself, Dr. S. Prakash, Professor at EEE Department, Bharat Institute of Higher Education Research. Right, we'll move to next slide. Under pollution prevention and cleanup production awareness plan, we will be concentrating on waste audit, environmental statement, then knowing something about the carbon credit, carbon sequestration, carbon trading, then some important aspects on this life cycle assessment, elements of life cycle assessment, then life cycle costing and eco labeling. Right. So, we will see what is pollution prevention and cleanup production awareness plan. So, how do we create an awareness plan on cleanup production? Throughout the past century, there has been a common recognition throughout the world that human activities have contributed to the deterioration of the environment and to the loss of natural resources. Of course, this is true. We have to accept this statement, right. Almost we have deteriorated the environment, and we have made plenty of loss to the natural resources. As a result of this realization, countries have taken significant steps towards restoring the natural environment. Yes, we are in the progress of restoring the natural environment, as we are seeing facing plenty of global warming and issues like that. So, we come across this pollution across all mediums remains one of the largest environmental challenges facing today's world, right. So, the pollution, right, pollution in the sense it does not mean air pollution, right, air pollution, noise pollution, all you have plenty of pollutions and toxic substances, CO2 emissions, all these things becomes a challenge towards the environment, right. Now, in the past, pollution control was seen as the key to a cleaner environment. Pollution control refers to the measures taken to manage pollution after it has been generated, right. So, this is one stage, right. Initially, we created the products or we used the sources such that it creates pollution, right. Then we have the pollution control board, which takes measures to manage pollution after it has been generated, right. So, we used to create pollution, and then we try to see the measures taken to reduce it. Within recent decades, we have witnessed a paradigm shift from pollution control to pollution prevention, right. Instead of a control, you can go for the prevention. Most recently, the concept of cleaner production has entered the global environmental arena, right. The CP fits within P2's broader commitment towards the prevention rather than the control of pollution, right. I think now you can understand the basic concept of getting into cleaner production, right, which makes instead of pollution control, you can have pollution prevention. Then pollution prevention, coming to the pollution prevention, so we tell that as the P2, right. So, P2 is an approach which can be adopted within all sectors, whether it be a small service operation or a large industrial complex, right. Then cleaner production, on the other hand, directs activities towards production aspects, particularly within the manufacturing sector, right. So, you can see P2 approach closely related to the cleaner production, and this cleaner production, which in turn is going to deal with production, right, as well as with the manufacturing sectors. Unlike in the past, right, when pollution was simply controlled, P2 and CP programs attempt to reduce and or eliminate air, water and land pollution, right. So, this is what going to happen, right. In the past, when pollution was simply controlled, P2 and CP programs attempt to reduce or eliminate air, water and land pollution. You can see these things are closely related to the environment. Therefore, the P2 and CP approaches benefit both the environment and society. Economically, P2 and CP can actually reduce costs and in some cases generate profit, right. It doesn't mean that when you go for a new approach, right, where you are going to spend more cost, right, it doesn't mean like that. Instead of that, your P2 and CP can actually reduce costs and in some cases it may even generate profit also. So both approaches are practical and feasible and can consequently contribute to a sustainable future, right. So, of course, that is going to be our ultimate aim, right. P2 strives to eliminate or reduce waste at the source of generation, right. So this pollution prevention, right, where we get boosted, right. So why you are in a need to use the prevention category, right, where it reduces the waste at the source of generation. 5 different areas of P2 focus is water, air, solids, time and energy, right. The major focus of this P2 is with respect to the water, a separate water management is there, air pollution separate board is there, right. Then the solids, whichever the thing you are going to use it and waste it, right, that is going to be a very big. Solid management is also, solid waste management is also a very big thing. And then next about the time transaction and the time consumption, right. Then similarly the energy used. So these were focused, right. So now you see some of the goals of P2 include the following: to eliminate and or reduce the waste generation, to conserve natural resources and materials, to prevent spills and accidental releases, to prevent product losses, right. You can see each and everything slowly. Waste generations reduced, you are going to conserve the natural resources and materials, prevent spills and accidental releases in case of a production industry, to prevent the product losses, right. So you can see a small sample which is taken from the website with the help of the Google, right. It's a pollution prevention applies to all of these categories, right. So what are the categories? You can see standard industrial classification categories. In the top one, it is shown there, right. That is the agriculture, mining, construction, manufacturing, transportation and utilities, right. Where and all you can have the prevention of pollution. Then second one is standard industrial classification categories, that is it's continued one with respect to the same above, but the weightage is somehow lesser. You can see the wholesale trade, retail trade, finance, insurance, real estate, then some common services, public administration, finally it comes to the consumers, right. So you can see we should not think like this, right. We don't know how this pollution prevention, but the pollution prevention, it is applied to all the major sectors. You can see that agriculture, mining, construction, manufacturing, transportation, wholesale trade, retail trade, because waste generation is there in the category. So cleanup production applies to the shaded areas, mostly to the manufacturing sectors. You can see the in the manufacturing sectors, right, the cleanup production is going to be there. Similarly, waste minimization applies to the generation of hazardous waste, mostly in the manufacturing sectors. So following this cleanup production to the shaded areas, you can concentrate some more. Similarly, waste minimization with respect to the hazardous waste should also be considered, right. Then 6 components of a CP, right. So what are the 6 components of a CP? It's about the waste reduction, non-polluting production, production energy efficiency, safe and healthy work environments, environmentally sound products, environmentally sound packaging, right. You can see if you see each and everything, there will be a minute differences, right. but all the thing together it focuses only on the environmental aspect, right. So, the waste reduction, non-polluting production, production energy efficiency, efficient production, safe and healthy work environment, very very good, right. Environmentally sound products, environmentally sound packaging. So, P2 and CP have significant environmental, economic and social benefits, right. So, this P2 and CP have significant environmental, economic and social benefits, right. Remember the 6 components. Then the key benefits of P2 and CP programs, here you can see reduction of operating cost, then reduction of ecological damage, improved company image, reduction of civil and criminal liability, right. We come to this, right. So, anyhow you should have benefits, some common benefits with respect to applying the cleaner production process, right. So, reduction of operating costs, operating cost is going to be a major cost for operating any plant. Suppose if you take a production plant, right, it is going to run for all the 24 hours. Say suppose if you take a power plant which is going to run for all the 365 days, because power production and all you cannot start as like you start your motor as like you stop your motor, it is not like that, right. So, in such cases when you apply P2 and CP programs, this operating cost may get reduced, right. So, this operating cost gets, once the operating cost get reduced, you will get a considerable savings, right. You do not think in a very small scale, you have to think in a very big companies, right. Say suppose if you take a refinery industry, right, which will be operating all the 365 days, right, which will be going on continuous process. Similarly, if you take a power plant industry, that is also going to be a continual process. If that is the case, then you can see how much will be the benefit. Then you come to this reduction of ecological damage, right. So, we are worrying more about the environment, right, about our surrounding ecology, right. So, that is why if there is going to be reduction of the damage to our surroundings, right, because of the big power plants as well as with respect to the very big industries, right, then that is also good, right. It is welcome, you can have this idea which in turn reduces the ecological damage. The next is improved company image, right. So, when you follow new technologies, automatically the company image will also be developed, right. You can use or your logo or in your letterhead, it represents. So, this company is going to use an, or this company is coming under cleaner production process, right, but it is going to be new to others, right. So, that makes the company image also to be improved. Then next is a reduction of civil and criminal liability. When you undergo all the safe process, automatically there is not going to be any criminal or civil liability to the company, right. So, you can take the recent examples with respect to the chemical manufacturing company, right, in Tamil Nadu itself, right, Thuthukudi, Sterlite Copper. So, the people's, right, then the criminal liability comes, people also against the company, right. When you go under these process, right, then there is no threatening from the public as well as from the law, there is no problem related to that. So, that is also going to be one of the major benefit for you, right. Next, 4 levels of the environmental management hierarchy, right. So, when you come to this, right, when you come to a new process, automatically you should have an environmental management hierarchy. So, you should know about that also. First one is source reduction, next is recycling or reuse, third is treatment, fourth one is disposal. If you watch these points, right, you find there is some connection between this, right. When you try to do some work, right, or when you try to have any product to be done, the source, right, any product you can think in your mind, the material, the source needed, right, if that is used properly, then you will have the source reduction technique. And when and where the wastes right, the materials can be recycled or reused, automatically the need of the material is also getting reduced. Then third one is about the treatment. Under various stages the various treatment can be done properly in order to avoid waste, heat management. Yesterday I think in previous lecture series we have seen these things also, right. Then the disposal of the waste, right, that is also going to be an big art, right. Environmental management hierarchy. So we have shown like this, it will be in a triangle which shows disposal, treatment, recycle, reusing, and then source reduction. The source reduction techniques, right, here we want to explain you on this source reduction. So that's why we taken some common examples. Process efficiency improvements, right, improving the efficiency of the process what in the industry is going to be. The description, a method of doing more with less by designing new systems, adapting the new systems or modifying existing ones, right. The most effective means of consuming materials and resources. So that comes under this, whether you can modify the system or you can design a new system. So this we have given some examples for you. High pressure, low volume, high pressure, right, spray guns for painting operations. Similarly, centralized fluid distribution systems, water flow restrictors, energy saving light fixtures. All these things comes under the efficiency improvements. Okay. Then second one is material substitution. Replace hazardous chemicals with less toxic alternatives of equal performance. Okay. You can replace any hard hazardous chemicals with less toxic alternatives or equal performance. So you can see the examples. As we see hazardous chemicals, we know, we come to this using water based paints instead of solvent based paints, replacing solvent degreasers with aqueous cleaning system. Then a third one is inventory control, right, reduce product losses due to product expiration and overstocking, right. Coming to the inventory, you can make it's directly about the product, its expiration and overstocking. Restricting access to supply areas, maintaining accurate inventory records to prevent overstocking also, because it sometimes due to the expiration, this overstocking may also come into problem, right. Then next is preventive maintenance, includes any activity that might prevent equipment malfunction and environmental releases, right. So example is that routinely inspecting equipment and storage containers, fixing problems immediately following standard operating procedures. Complete maintenance is required, right, when and where it depends upon the industry, right, we will be doing that. Then improved housekeeping, keeping a clean shop conserves resources and materials, prevents product losses and prevents spills and leaks, right. So this housekeeping is also a major role, right. So you can see that the examples: cleaning up spills and absorbents immediately, maintaining good store. Then in process recycling, is considered source reduction if materials are not removed from the process, right, or if materials are redirected back into the process. Example is that counter current rinsing in electroplating process, right. It's about something related to electroplating, so you can see that also. Then following the process, right, you can see the waste audit, right. So whenever we are coming to the pollution prevention and CP process, we should concentrate on this waste audit, which is very essential. So basic steps for conducting a site review. I think you would have know something more on the energy audit, right. And similarly, you can see about the waste audit also. The basic steps, right, we will see one by one. You can prepare an agenda in advance that covers all points that still require clarification, right. will provide staff contacts in the area being assessed with agenda several days before the inspection. This one is that you have to imagine yourself, and depending upon the site, depending upon the production industry, or depending upon the industry, you can decide this. You should have a complete agenda. Schedule the inspection to coincide with the particular operation that is of interest. Example, makeup chemical addition, both the sampling, dumping, startup, shutdown, etc. You can schedule the inspection in such a way where their complete routine process has to be done on this, right. Then next is monitor the operation at different times during all shifts, right. You want to monitor the operation at different times, all the shifts, and if needed during all 3 shifts, especially when waste generation is highly dependent on human involvement, right. Example, in painting or parts cleaning operations, that's it depends on the industry. When the industry which uses most robots, right, or if it is going to be an automatic process and the work is going to be done smoothly, then this under the cleaner production process, the wastage is also minimized. But if not, more human beings are involved, then you have to monitor the operation at all the times. So that is what is considered there. Then interview, you should have interview with the operators, shift supervisors, and work leaders in the assessed area, so that you can discuss the waste generation aspects of the operation. Note their familiarity with the impacts their operation may have on other operations, right. So you should have an very good clear interaction with all the operators, supervisors, workers, work leaders, etc. everyone. Photograph or videotape the area of interested if wanted, right. So you can have an photo session, or you can have a video capturing. Pictures are valuable in the absence of plant layout drawings, of course. Many details can be captured in pictures that otherwise could be forgotten or inaccurately recalled at a later date. Of course, this will happen. Nowadays, it's a fashion to access any area that is taken as in photos and videos, and they will replay it so many times, and they will find out. Observe the housekeeping aspects of the operation. Check for signs of spills or leaks. Visit the maintenance shop and ask about problems in keeping the equipment leak free, right. Assess the overall cleanliness of the site. Pay attention to odors and fumes. You can observe the housekeeping aspects of the operation. See, under the cleaner production process, right, pollution prevention, the P2 category, this housekeeping and keeping the premises clean, which in turn going to make a big difference. So that's why pay attention on the housekeeping aspects. Then assess the organizational structure and level of coordination of environmental activities between various departments. Generally, you will have multiple departments in the production industry. If that is the case, you can assess the organizational structure and level of coordination of environmental activities between the various departments. That should be coordinated. Access administrative controls such as cost accounting procedures, material purchasing procedures, and waste collection procedures. You should be in a manner, or we should be in a fashion to know about the administrative controls, right. In some of the administration, they don't have any control on this cost accounting procedure or the waste collection procedures. That's all an unnecessary that is unnecessarily the amount may be spent over the particular area, right. In some industry there may be some process on this, but in some of the industries there may not be any control over it, right. So this administrative control, you have to focus, you have to audit them also in such a way that how the cost accounting procedure happens, how material purchasing procedure happens as well as the waste collection procedures happens, right. Now we come to the environmental management systems. So, an environmental management system EMS is part of the overall management system of an organization, right. So, this environmental management system is part of the overall management system of an organization. Then we will have some 5 components of an EMS, right, that is environmental management system. First one is environmental policy, then planning, implementation and operation, checking and corrective action, and management review, right. So, you will have an environmental policy, you will have environmental planning, implement it and operate it, find out the difficulties. So, you can have a checking and corrective action and management review also. So, now we come to the carbon footprint, right. So, I do not know exactly what is a carbon footprint, right. Then while coming about this series, then I found myself interested to knowing about the carbon footprint. So, a carbon footprint is the total greenhouse gas emission, we call it as GHG emissions caused by an individual, event, organization, service or a product expressed as CO2 equivalent, right. It is about only purely the emission equivalent, right. So, a carbon footprint is total GHG, greenhouse gas emissions caused by an individual, event, organization, service or product expressed as CO2 equivalent. So, CO2 is dangerous. So, we are trying to concentrate on that. So, greenhouse gases including the carbon containing gases, carbon dioxide and methane can be emitted through the burning of fossil fuels, right. Burning of fossil fuels, which is very well good enough to emit the CO2. So, land clearance and the production and consumption of food, right, manufactured goods, materials, wood, roads, buildings, transportation and other services. In all these services, we will have indirect or indirect, in one way or in another way, we will have the emission of CO2, right. So, there is some emission of GHG, right. So, what is this carbon footprint then now? It is a measure of the total amount of CO2 and CH4 emissions of a defined population, system or activity considering all relevant sources, sinks and storage within the spatial and temporal boundary of the population. So, only as human beings surrounding the population with us, right, we are going to calculated as carbon dioxide equivalent using the relevant 100-year global warming potential, that is GWP 100, right. The global average annual carbon footprint per person in the late 2010 was 0.7 tons CO2 equivalent food, 1.1 tons from the home, 0.8 tons from the transport and 0.8 tons from other. You can see the values, which is really interesting one. Now, understanding a carbon credit. The ultimate goal of carbon credit is to reduce the emission of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Carbon credits were devised as a market oriented mechanism to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Companies get a set number of credits which decline over time. So, they can sell any excess to another company. Thus, cap and trade is an incentive to reduce emissions, right. Carbon credit does not mean only to the individual or residents like that. If you take big companies, and particularly if you see AC manufacturing company, air conditioner manufacturing companies, right, they are responsible, their products once when they are sold also they will have the GHG, right, and the company while the production also they will concentrate on this carbon credits, right. Then next one is about the carbon sequestration. Carbon sequestration describes long term storage of CO2 or other forms of carbon to either mitigate or defer global warming and avoid dangerous climate change, right. that is known as carbon sequestration. It's a long term storage of CO2 or other forms of carbon to either mitigate or defer global warming and avoid hazardous climate change. It has been proposed as a way to slow the atmospheric and marine accumulation of greenhouse gases which are released by burning fossil fuels. This is fossil fuels, burning of fossil fuels is a very big and hard thing for us, right. There are three ways that this sequestration can be carried out: post combustion capture, pre combustion capture and oxy combustion, right. A wide variety of separation techniques are being pursued, including gas phase separation, absorption into a liquid and absorption on a solid, as well as hybrid process such as absorption or membrane systems, right, filtering the complete process. These above process basically capture carbon emitting from power plants, factories, fuel burning industries and so on, which is used by organizations. This carbon sequestration process basically capture carbon emitting from power plants, factories, fuel burning industries and so on, which is used by organizations as they look to reduce carbon emissions from their operations, right. Then the interesting point is about this carbon trading. So, the carbon trading is the process of buying and selling permits and credits to emit carbon dioxide. It has been a central pillar of the EU's effort to slow climate change, right. So, that is this carbon trading. The world's biggest carbon trading system is European Union Emissions Trading System. We tell it as EU ETS, right. It is beset with the problems and corruption, and yet countries such as Brazil and China continue to pursue carbon trading as a way to tackle rising emissions, right. The carbon trading is increasingly criticized, not least because carbon dioxide emissions in industrialized countries are not declining at the necessary rate to avoid catastrophic climate changes, right. So, this point you want to know, so that is why we discussed about the carbon trading. So, European countries, they are very best in protecting the environment, right. So, that is why which is this organization, the setup is made by European Union emissions trading system, and this has been started. So, the carbon trading is a process of buying and selling permits and credits to emit carbon dioxide, right. So, China, India, all are under the process of the carbon trading system, because all the Commonwealth countries generally they say, right, all the Commonwealth countries generally they say all the lower level countries are emitting the carbon dioxide, right. So, that is an vice versa, we have plenty of problems in that, but anyhow we should know about the carbon trading also. Thank you.